We'll go back in session at 11 a.m. Next up on the agenda is, we're finishing up the division reports. Jacob MacArthur. Jake, you get a mic?
Yep, no. Bonjour, everyone. Just giving you a brief rundown on what economic development is working on. Starting off with the NTIA broadband grant. We got a grant proposal submitted earlier this fall. We're hoping to hear back sometime in January. We're looking at a $500,000 award that will be used to improve broadband coverage within our communities. The cool thing about this one is if we do receive this smaller grant, it'll give us the inside track in round 2 of funding to receive a much larger award. So that's one of the bigger projects we're going to be working on in early 2023. Next up is the Indian Housing Block Grant. We're working with Housing. They had requested that we pick up on one of their recent failed grants regarding a proposal to build elder housing in Rice Lake. So me and Pam Keyser are working with Housing to get the data we need to rework that grant and get it submitted in time. Next up is the ACP Outreach Grant. We just got word of this one this week. There's a pretty short turnaround time. The due date is January 9th. Fortunately, we're working with a tribal liaison who's pulling together Minnesota tribes to create a single strong grant application so we can take advantage of this grant funding. It's up to $1 million award that we can use to raise awareness for the Affordable Connectivity Program, which is a really great program that enables those living on tribal lands to receive a $75 a month discount on their home broadband costs, as well as a one-time $100 rebate on a purchase of a laptop. So what this program we're proposing is we'll be able to hire a full-time program manager and utilize temporary workers to get the word out and get people to sign up and take advantage of this awesome program. Next up is the Clean Energy Deployment on Tribal Lands. It's a pretty big grant through the Office of Indian Energy. Our proposal is to build a community solar garden in the city of Mahnomen that will serve the Riverland community, and that includes the apartment building, the surrounding homes, the child care center, Head Start, and potentially the tribal college. So that's another one of the big early 2023 programs we have in the works. A smaller program, but that's I'm working on right now is I got a call from a tribal member that had an off-grid trailer home on the east side of Strawberry Lake. They're about a quarter mile from the nearest power line. The utility company wants a lot of money to come hook them up, so they're sitting there in middle of winter, no lights, no heat. They wanted to get solar on their trailer home, but I just happened to come across this micro grant through the University of Minnesota Extension Program that will enable us to, we're working with Eighth Fire Solar to get solar panels and batteries hooked up that will enable them to power and heat their home through the winter, and hopefully through the spring get electricity hooked up. And the great thing about that one is this guy I'm working with at the U of M Extension, he has access to a lot of these little micro grant opportunities, $7,000 to $10,000 to electrify off-grid trailer homes, build rural microgrids, things like that. So even though it's not as impactful as some of these other big grants we're pursuing, it does have a real positive impact on individual tribal members. So that's something I'm really looking forward to. And a brief staffing update. Next week we're interviewing for the new grant writer position. So we're looking to start off 2023 in a good way in building our team and put ourselves in a position to meet a lot of these really great opportunities that are coming up through the Inflation Reduction Act. And yeah, that's about it.
Thank you, Jake. Any questions for Jake? Woman Gooch for your report, I appreciate it. Next up is Health Division. Pat.
Good day, everyone. So the Health Division, I'll start off with the EMS report. So that's the ambulance service, which are have quarters in both Nanawash and White Earth. They're fully staffed 24/7, 365. The biggest issue we have right now is staffing, and that's throughout the health division with almost all positions, but especially paramedics are very difficult to find. We have EMS staffing, and now the White Earth ambulance staff will be able to start doing our own recertification for people, so that will help hopefully with some retainment. During the last month, the 2 ambulance services have responded to 78 calls for service. And so it's been a relatively active month. They also work in conjunction with Minoman and flights from all over. And so that does help get people to where they need to be for their level of trauma. We have the Tribal Home Visiting Program, which is the maternal child health support program. We have, that's an evidence-based program, the first tribe to roll into that. And it's been probably a number of years now that that's been happening, but it's support for pregnant moms and also support for them after they deliver with people coming to their home with evidence-based programming that we're working on getting tribal language and tribal practices in there and using all of that information that is appropriate for the population served. The Parents as Teachers program is a part of that and does go out and do that support after the child is born and back in home. And so they also work collaboratively with the Caring for Kids store. Elderly Nutrition Program serves food at the sites and home delivered meals. So the staffing, White Earth has 5 people, 3 of those also do delivery. They serve 210 people per day. Elbow Lake is now being utilized by the Nanawash staff as they're doing remodel. 5 staff at that site, 160 people served a day. Rice Lake also has 5 staff, 140 people served a day. Pine Point has 2 staff and 50 people served in a day. Grocery costs are extremely elevated at this point in time, and the total to date is $329,024 for the food costs, and another $16,500 for the miscellaneous things that they get to support that program. But they do work very hard to get those meals out on time, try to work through the weather issues and make sure they're giving that extra food, and working very hard at getting the training, serve safe training done for everyone so that the sites are compliant.
Who does that? Who certifies this Serve Safe program?
They don't have a trainer internally yet, so they go outside to different agencies that will come in and do that. And then there's a post test. So you have to pass the test to get certified.
There's a test? No.
There's a test. We have the waiver programs, which waivers are an extension of medical assistance. So people who have needs beyond just regular provider type visits, we like to do that assessment and see if they qualify for a waiver that would cover more of their expenses. And so there are disability waivers for people under 65. There's elderly waiver for people over 65. There's PCA assessments that are done. All of those things are an individual going to the home, asking a set of questions to determine the eligibility for that programming. Those programs, because we're a health unit, everything that gets done is pretty much in physician order. So nothing just happens without that, because we have nurses and caregivers involved in that, so that order has to be procured. But these dollars do have an income, a means test, and there are ways to get them on some of those depending on what their needs are. But they will cover things like equipment, in-home care, PCA services, some of those pieces that people really need and access frequently. So that's one of the ways. Also, Meals on Wheels can get reimbursed. Our elderly nutrition program can get reimbursed through waiver for that home delivered meal. And then the medical alert, or lifeline as we call it, services can run through that as well. That lifeline is local, so it goes through our dispatch, and they know where to find those homes, because sometimes the GPS pieces aren't the right addresses. So it's really helped to have more efficient services on EMS with our own lifeline. So the long-term care services or waivered services serve a total of 520 people on the reservation at this time. So disability is 89, elderly 96, PCA only 153, which means we do the assessment for PCA, but we do not provide the service. Those are outside agencies providing that PCA service. And then 182 with miscellaneous services provided, which may be just rides or different kind of services that are not long-term. Harm reduction program goes to communities and provides education, meals, and CHR transportation and Narcan training, and they do provide Narcan to people there too. So those happen weekly in each community, and they will be having providing health education at the holiday photo booth for the elder picnic on the 4th of January. They currently serve about 50 to 60 clients a week in the exchange program. And they give out about 10 to 12 cases of Narcan per week. The public health under Cindy Rasted is probably one of the programs that's largely grant funded. Cindy does a lot of work on the grant side to get funding that's more flexible and will provide more things outside of the regular activities that happen within the health division. So she also sent a message this morning just before I arrived here that the diabetes grant was fully funded again this year. So that's excellent news, and happy to have that. That helps with services like the foot cares, Dr. Ung Clinic, the fitness centers, and most of the fitness centers have been renovated with new equipment and new services for this year. So that was exciting news to know that that grant has come through. Some of those grant programs also work with the Waban School, the hunting season activities, hypnosis, weight control, smoking and anxiety programs, the lacrosse games with Bob Shimmick, the Extension Office for Winter Camp and Rediscovery Center. Our Health is Sacred curriculum, dental varnishing, We Care is part of that and pretty much grant funded. And then the ski and snowshoe things, plus a lot of other things that happen through the summer and through Dr. Ung Foot clinics. So the home care agency is also, it provides services in-home to elders or people who need that because of health issues or recent hospital surgeries, things like that. The home care clients have to have a provider or physician, of course, that makes that referral, and then nurses can go out and see that person. We have a lot of people that are on services for a long time and some that come on for a surgery post-op for a while and then recover and don't need services, but they're available to whatever the need may be. The home care is Medicare certified, and so it does have to meet the regulations of that federal boundary where White Earth was the first tribe that ever had a Medicare certified home care, and to date is still one of the very few. There may be one other. The home care caseload it varies with season, but it stays pretty consistent with about 1,761 visits per year. And so that's a number of nurses doing those visits. Out of that, the client count, there's 115 people who have a pay source and 176 who do not. So that 176 is covered from third-party dollars that they collect during those home care visits. That's how we can augment that service and grow it larger. There's also all of the COVID vaccines, all of the flu shots, all of the school vaccines and school nursing, all of those things happen throughout that time too. The big concern with home care at this point in time is the 4 walls. If the 4 walls issue isn't resolved, then home care will not be able to receive the all-inclusive rate, and we would not be able to continue services at that level. We have the CHR and the medical transportation program, the difference being CHRs have a special training through the federal side so that they can do things more one-on-one in a client's home. The transportation just provides transportation to and from a medical appointment, to and from dialysis, and that is kind of the gist of that, medical, dental. And so transportation drivers, we have 14 of those. They are the ones who just simply do that driving, and they are overloaded every day with requests and needs. We're not able to meet that need, and it's, again, difficult to hire staff to do the services because they're not just 5 days a week, they're weekends. They're early morning rides for dialysis. They can be all kinds of time, day and night, especially if they're having surgery in Fargo and they're coming home the same day. So there are intensive requirements for that. There are 3 dispatchers that dispatch those rides and those drivers and make sure those are filled. And Kivy and Kathy also drive as they can to help fill in with that. The CHRs also do those in-home ones, so the CHRs have done 380 home contacts and 22,044 miles, 444 miles in mileage. So they're still doing that along with the transportation. The transportation medical appointments average about 500 rides a month. And the other thing we have, I guess, is dialysis. So we have that going in conjunction in collaboration with Sanford Clinic or Sanford Healthcare. And so that is also going on weekends and sometimes late in the evening, depending on the need for that dialysis piece. So it's been very beneficial to have that here because sometimes people just chose not to take that ride to Detroit Lights or Fargo to get, or Bemidji to get that dialysis done. So the unit remains full and fully staffed, and in the future we'll probably move ahead to working with Sanford on some more of that home dialysis for some of the people that are interested in doing that or want that service. I think at the beginning, Secretary Treasurer LaRock talked a little bit about 105 lease. So 105 lease is available to White Earth because we have a federal relationship with IHS, which means we have a choice of maintenance and improvement dollars or 105 lease. And that's really something that happened just in the last few years. So maybe 2 or 3 years that has been available to us. We have moved into 105 lease on the health division side for the building that we're in and the offices that we have around the reservation because it's a more lucrative reimbursement for that space. The space has to be assessed by, what do you call those people that do that? Inspector? No, that put a price on it. Anyway, they tell us how much per square foot rental is for that kind of building. And then we can turn that into IHS and get that reimbursed to us for the maintenance, improvement, and taking care of the expenses with that.
I can't
You
think
call that person
I don't know what to call a person, but I thought it was
appraiser, thank you.
appraiser.
So it has to be appraised in that sense, in a comparative to things around us. So I think we have a plan for having that happen in a better sense and probably getting a more relevant number for that appraisal,
Renegotiation.
renegotiation. So anyway, that can be happening. So I think that we probably have a lot of questions time to time about assistance to individuals and specifics of, is it difficult to serve people, or can you help with this, or the expectation that that can happen? And a lot of times we can, or we may not be able to, but most of the time it depends on cooperation of the person as well. Before we can just say yes to pretty much anything because of the healthcare regulations, it helps if they will let us come out and do that assessment. Because if they need, per se, a lifeline, there's probably other things that they could benefit from. Home delivered meals, maybe public health nursing, maybe services from human services in some sense of the word, and they don't know where to go. Maybe we can get them on a waivered service and they can get more services outside the medical arena than are available locally in White Earth. So any of those things that we can do that assessment and see if there are those additional pay sources that will cover any of those things that are not directly covered by healthcare dollars. That's a huge improvement in the lifestyle of that person or that person in need or that group in need. So sometimes it can't happen right away. Sometimes that person will not agree to that assessment. It can be threatening to some because they're afraid of losing what they have. But the people that go out and do that have all that information to give them, to reassure them that it is their choice. They can say no, but it is beneficial to receive that information and know exactly what that means. I guess that's kind of where we're at with that piece. So, any questions?
I have a question. I just want to find out why, I was, did this, PCA for my nephew. He's permanently disabled. I mean, he physically and mentally, he has, mental, a block, like he can't move. He was injured. And I was his PCA. I'm no longer his PCA, I'm injured qualified. We did an assessment on him, and I wasn't allowed to be in there when they did the assessment. He answered yes to just about every question, and that shouldn't have happened, because there's stuff that he can't do at all, you know? I mean, I'm basically still taking care of him. I live there, so I'm taking care of him, and mentally, he has a hard time to answer a question. He has to sit there and think when you ask him something, you know? So to me, that's a disability, you know? He goes to the doctors in Fargo, not as often as he did, because he has also a leg injury. He's got a rod in his leg, you know, so, I mean, he's got all kinds of problems, but he's not eligible for anything. That don't make any sense to me, you know? And so he's on disability right now, you know?
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman? I would just like to respectfully say, if it's a personal question on a specific item like that, that should be discussed one-on-one with the program and not brought up during a public meeting.
Okay.
So,
Which, thank you.
yeah, just get in touch
Okay.
later and we'll go through that.
All right.
Thanks, Cody.
I have a question. I know it was brought up before, many times, but, with lifelines for people that don't have, their home phones, and they only have cell, has there anything been done with that yet? Because there's many out there that don't have that service. Probably could get it under your waiver program, but there's no service. And that kind of connects into the no internet service on our reservation. Many of our people out in, especially in the Tawash area, don't get service. So, you know, to have Lifeline, that's not available. So how do we, you know, get to a point where we're helping these people?
So Tito, I know they've done some investigation and research into the various options of the phone, the cell phone and the other pieces of that. We also know that the internet can be an issue, so, and cell service can be an issue in some places at any given time. And then also working with dispatch to make sure we can continue that service through wider.
That's been for years. I mean, nothing's been done to try to get service for those people. You know, our tribal council needs to address that.
And we could probably have, Jacob can probably, make some comments on about the reservation-wide broadband program that we're looking at, so Jacob would have some information on that. I know it's been a struggle, so. We're also working with some of the companies in the area for fiber build out and stuff like that to get to the areas that don't have access to it and stuff like that, so. We are looking at it, I don't know if Jacob wants to make some comments on it or not, so.
It's gotta be cost effective too.
Hey Tito.
Reliable and affordable, that's what we talked about.
I just wanted to bring up, you know, we're in support of a Garden Valley with the Reconnect program. And, I wish I had the map to show you guys, but it's gonna be covering, you know, within the city of Monoman, down Highway 200 and then the village of Natowash and Roy Lake. So there's gonna be a lot better, there's gonna be some, fiber optic, options over there. So that build out, I think they're talking about, next summer that they're gonna start the build out. Go ahead, Jacob.
Yeah, as Eugene mentioned, we do have a technology partner in Garden Valley who's gonna be building out the fiber optic, infrastructure. Now, the grant I mentioned in my program update, the NTI broadband grant, our plan is to build a wireless broadband coverage that will cover our reservation and, you know, fill those gaps. You know, I live out in Natowash too, and I don't get any cell service, and I know how it is. So that's one of the big projects that we're currently working on, and we're really, really hopeful that we can secure the funding we need to you know, build out that much needed infrastructure.
Do you have any kind of, did you say summer, you hope to have that in place? I worry about the elders that are sitting there without service. And that, you know, we've had deaths and I don't want to see that anymore.
No, I understand your concern. We got a grant submitted, we're hoping to hear back potentially later this month. And after that, the next round of funding opens up. And we will be going for the larger amounts that will potentially fund our big projects.
Tito, also our IT department is working on some with infrastructure for a tower in Natowash. We had a few years ago where we did have an opportunity to put a tower in Natowash and it fell through. And we're redoing it to make sure that we get, because this tower would have serviced probably people in 30-mile radius from one of the areas right by the complex area there. So we're redoing that and taking a look at it and seeing what the cost is gonna be. But Monty Bellinger from IT is working on that program right now. So unfortunately, there's been challenges, and I don't think we can put a date on it right now because there's been so many challenges with this stuff, and I understand we are losing people, and it's very important that we get these lifelines out to our elders. That's one of the most important things we should be worried about. So, big widget. Is your microphone over there?
A question about that. I'm wondering if that program is grant driven as far as the time sensitivity on it, because Jake was saying that they were waiting on approval from a grant for that. I'm just wondering if it's something that is important enough to actually spend money on. Instead of waiting for grant funding, is it purely driven from the grant funding, or is it something important enough to spend our own money on? If she's talking about lives.
Thank you for that question. It is, I believe it probably would be grant funding, but if we spend our own money on it with the infrastructure still has to be, we still have time to, for the infrastructure to put it in, because with Garden Valley, they put a couple of dates on theirs where they're gonna be putting in their fiber optic line and stuff like that, because we're dealing with a lot of issues right now where a lot of the fiber optic that's in the ground it's copper and it's not doing us any good. And we have companies that want to come in and exchange it over to the fiber line where they could get better service and stuff like that. So either way you look at it, it's going to take time. I believe it's going to take time. And I believe it's time we don't have, but we can't rush infrastructure like that. So I'll make question.
All right, Miigwech. Thank you, Pat. And I guess what I wanted to kind of talk about too is with the health report and the health division is, I know that our Nadawash clinic is coming along pretty good over there. And we talked about Title I. We talk about Red Lake, Leech Lake, and White Earth are the last three nations in the Midwest that are still Title I. And what I wanted to bring up is 638 in Title V is I think that we're gonna start beginning those talks again of creating our health board and moving down that path of the White Earth Nation controlling our own health system. So that's something that hopefully in the near future, not today, but probably in the future, that we'll have those talks and those community meetings about White Earth going down that path. So there's a lot of benefits to it. So a lot more options for all of us in this room. Create so much different things that we control our own healthcare. So, but that's something that we'll get out to the public when it comes around. So we will be looking at getting a health board established here soon. So, but thank you, Pat. Thank you for your report. And I guess next up, what we could talk about is I know elders are here, and I know Tito wanted to say a few words, and also the commission's here. And I guess if you're available for the commission to talk first, because Tito's talking back there, but maybe the commission can give an update, and then we can let Tito go next. So, Miigwech.
Good to go. All right, thank you very much, Chairman. I have a delivery of a ping pong table today, and I got ping pong, old lady ping pong tournaments coming up in my house. What I have passed out is our proposed budget for the White Earth Elders Commission. It's pretty basic, covers our meetings, which have already been approved, but there are just some extra things in there for a couple of visits out of the area to neighboring tribes, Leech Lake, Red Lake, just to network with them to find out how they're working with their elders to bring in solutions and ideas to improve the services. So I really don't have anything more than that right now. And I did give you a list of our contacts of all the commission. And just wanted to present that Mr. Hanks is here from District 2, Tony Visner from District 3. Our other members, I'm sure, we have a couple who do child care for their grandchildren, and another one who's working in one who's had some medical issues. So that's it. Just wanted to give you a quick update on that.
Thank you, Miigwech, thank you for that report. Sam, do you want to go on behalf of the Elders Council? Samuel? You want to talk for the elders?
He's busy.
Tito?
Back at Jacob.
I just have a few things to,
Turn it on. It's on. Closer.
I have a few things that I want to bring up. It's been a rough fall out there. You talked about getting the plastic weight and stuff, but it was supposed to be on by I think the 31st of October. once we got it, they hired me to get it put on. And I set a deadline of Thanksgiving with the holiday, the way the thing's set up like it is now, you only got about 3 days to work. So I didn't quite finish it on 25 to 30 houses by Thanksgiving, but 2 days after the holiday, that weekend I did. I used the White Earth Elders car to do it. And I mean, that turned into a fiasco. And now I'm doing the same thing to those same 34 houses now that need roof shoveled. And we asked for a vehicle. You know, I talked to Mike and everybody about seeing, or Bernie, I requested if you guys had a pickup there that we could use out in Pine Point. And as I go back through my records, I see a lot of things that, about that car and the bus and all this stuff, you know. And it's always, yep, Pine Point's gonna get a vehicle, Pine Point's gonna do this. But I'm not gonna carry on about it because I can do without it. But there was a lot of other issues. We had an elder, and his mom died in October. And about 2 weeks after she died, his water heater caught on fire. And I tried for 3 weeks to get it fixed. And finally, I went through every channel I could do to try and get it fixed. He was out without hot water for 3 weeks. And finally, I think it was, I'm not sure who came out and fixed it. But the next day I seen him at the elder center. I said, well, you got your hot water now? He said, no, I don't have any water. Because when they put it, they went and turned the water back on and they busted the faucet right off. So they had to shut all the water off. Then it took another 5 days with no water. I mean, and this was, I mean, he just lost his mom and stuff, and I can't believe that we still got these issues. And I think there was a meeting, TC meeting, was that at up north?
Northern Lights.
Was it at Northern Lights or was it? Yeah, it was at Northern Lights. That same day, while I was trying to get somebody to come fix their sewer and water, was over at a house that's non-native owned off the reservation, fixed a non-native person in it, fixing their water, because their water line froze up. And they were over there fixing that. And I text you guys a picture of it and stuff. And that's like, I find, you know, why do some people can make a phone call and get the thing done right there that same day? And someone like this spends a whole month just trying to get water. I guess that would be one of my issues that I had, and I don't know where to turn. I mean, I call different people. I think at the last meeting, you guys said that, well, if I've got an issue with housing, then I should call housing and not bring it to the RTC. I should go to each of the departments. Well, that don't work either. And I guess I'd like to know what the answer is to something like that. And the other issue I've been getting phone calls on is the Christmas party. Half the people you talk to say, hey, I'm not invited because I didn't sign up at the EMP site, so I can't go to it. And I said, you go to it. That's for everybody. Just like everything else on this reservation, if you're on an elders council, it's for the 800 elders on this reservation. It ain't for a chosen few. And with that, I'll rest my case. Thank you.
Sam, you do have my number, and I never did get a text on that one you talked about their lines freezing.
Yep.
But, you know, I get back to you every time I can if I miss your call. So
No, I mean, it's not your fault, Annie, or Mike's, or them. It goes back down to the department.
That would be me, Sam. So, and you also have my number. So if there's an issue with any of the programs or departments, you know to contact me. You can see me in the office, you can call my cell phone number, and I'm always responsive and follow up on anything that's brought forward from you. So I did not receive any calls or messages from you either.
Okay, well, I think I did
That's the
call-
route. If you have an issue
I believe I did
with the
call a
program-
couple times, and you guys were, see, that was you were probably at the TEC meeting too. A lot of people were at the TEC meeting that weekend.
But I always have my phone, and you can contact me, because then what I'll do is contact the directors directly, and I'll send them an email, a text message, and a phone call to ensure that there's proper follow-up in any case that's brought forward.
Yeah.
Be quick.
And, I'm not saying it's long, I'm just trying to figure out where it would be that, to get faster service. Like I say, this woman lives in same distance I live off the reservation. That's been an excuse why I can't get a house for years and years. But this woman called, and it's a rental unit, and it's owned by a non-native person off the reservation, and has a non-native person living in it. And she calls, and right away, they're out there to fix it, sewer and water. I've got pictures on my phone. I think you guys got the pictures of out there that day fixing water. And they couldn't fix it, I guess. But then it happened, or else they did fix it, and the next day or 2 days later, it froze up again, and they got COVID then out there. But I went to talk to a elder out there, and she's on the elders council. And I went into her house, and she was sitting in a trailer house, and she has this porch. And I walked in there, and they were bundled up with jackets, double jackets, and everything else, her and her son. And I said, what's going on? She said, they had this huge barrel stove trying to get a fire going to warm up in here. It was like 30 degrees in there. And she said, look at, she said, we shouldn't have to live like this. I said, we shouldn't. I was sick during Christmas. Many mornings I woke up with 28, 30 degrees in my house that didn't get fixed or repaired, or a different house for me before fall. But this is the 22nd century now almost, the 21st century. We shouldn't have to live like that on this reservation. And then when it comes, like I say, when it comes to elders, I'm not gonna just, we've talked about this many times, and I hate to be a broken record on it, but I believe in need, not want. It's, and I'm hearing this from so many people that the people that need it the most are not getting it, because the people that want something, that are closer to it, got the access to places, are getting the stuff that they need. Rather than what they,
My elders list, the ones that I picked for District 3, I asked for an update on where they're at, because they did finish 1 and 2, but they never even started on 3. So I asked for an update, and apparently I got an email back that he was off. But so I still never got an update, because I picked the neediest out there, and there's at least 5 in Pine Point that I know of. They did go do 1, which we just gotta get him into different housing, which they were supposed to be working on. And with him, I hope they did get him into a house. I haven't got no updates. That's just the way it is. Like I said, communication earlier, So I'm waiting for an update on that. But yes, I'm hoping they get out there, get us and I don't know if they started in 1 or 2 yet, because that's what was decided. We're gonna do the need, since it's winter now, not the want.
Yep, exactly.
So I don't know if we did do some that needed furnaces, we did do them because, it's winter. So
Right.
we did do that. I know that other programs have stepped up to get heaters in there, before we can get the people in there to fix their furnaces and stuff. But, it's moving along. I just haven't got an update for you on my district yet, because I didn't get it from them.
All right,
And
thank you.
Sam, that's one of the things that we talked about with Mike Thompson today. That elder advocate program.
Yep.
It's moving, he's moving forward with it. If we can get elder advocates in each community, in those 5 big communities, to separate and get some data on which elders they're gonna check on weekly and stuff like that, and you know, they'll have to check on them weekly, whether they have to or not. But I mean, that's gonna be a good program that's coming out. And we've all stressed that program that we needed to get an elder advocate in each one of the communities. The
Exactly.
bigger communities, give them a list of names. That's your job for this whole month, is to go door to door with those elders and see what they need. Whether you go play cribbage with them or whether you go visit with them, we would be able to cover. With the two we have right now, it's not possible to cover every elder on the reservation. It's not possible right now. With 5, it would be possible for them to do that and make sure that they get out there and this stuff is being addressed. And there's also another system that's out there and it's about accountability. It's about accountability. There's a system that I'm gonna have our government relations lady, she's going to be having them present to the tribal council here in the near future. And it's all about accountability. It's an app that when people do call in and say they need this and that, this app tracks it to see if they've gotten the help and they weren't left behind. It tracks that, it tracks all that stuff. And it says, and then if they didn't get the help, why didn't they get the help? So that's an app that we're looking at, and it's free to tribal nations. We just gotta get that up and running to where we can do that and get it to all our divisions to make sure that the data's there and stuff like that. So we don't have any slip through the cracks. So those are some of the things we're working on, so thank you.
And yep, and when I heard that, I was really pleased that we are getting an advocate out in the community. And if I could make a suggestion, rather than have them at the community center, I would rather see them work out of the EMP.
They're not tied, they won't be tied to any office. They'll be floating.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
And they'll have a phone number where they can get, a business phone where they have to answer. You know?
Yep.
And they'll be assigned, I don't wanna put it out there what I think it's gonna be. I'm gonna put it out there what Mike's gonna come up with and stuff like that. If he takes our recommendation that he's gonna take an elder out there and assign all these elder names that we have come up with, the ones that, some of them are shut in, some are not, and just make those contacts. That's exactly what we want, is to make those contacts and find out what their needs are. And once you, the first year of that program, you get that, then it'll start declining and we'll start being more proactive. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. We had a meeting when I finished up those 25, 30 houses for that. And when I brought it up at the elders meeting, I was told that wasn't what that vehicle that I drove and used for was supposed to be used for. Now, if I had to do it again, I'd do it again. Because there's 25 families out there that have houses that got plastic on the windows before this cold spell hit. And I've been thanked so many times for it in the last week since it got warm again. Well, I can actually say that what I looked at, I couldn't believe it myself. I mean, I know there's a lot of houses that need repair out there, but I would say 30 to 50% of the houses we put plastic on had busted windows, BB holes in them, big chunks of plastic put over them from the inside and stuff, windows that needed fixed and stuff. And these were houses that, I think we talked about this was that project that was non-tribal homes. They were homeowner-owned homes and stuff. And I couldn't believe the amount of houses that got busted windows in them. And then when somebody says that, no, that ain't what that was supposed to be for, you ain't even supposed to do this. Well, I did it, and I won't regret it. And the people that I did it for don't regret it. So, thank you.
I'll just kind of address the vehicle issue first. I'm gonna address that. Because I work with public safety, when we donated that vehicle to the elder, the We COE program. One of the things we did is we donated it because we figured that it was needed. You didn't need to be driving around a bus that was burning up all kinds of gas. So we donated him a vehicle. And when Sam talked to both probably me and the chairman and whoever else he talked to about that vehicle, I told Sam, I said, this is your guys. This is the We COE boards. And I'm not gonna say problem, but it's their challenge. It's theirs. It's on them. I don't feel comfortable with going to this We COE board and trying to tell them what to do with a vehicle I gave them. I'm not gonna do that. And I don't know about the rest of the council, but I'm not gonna do that. So this needs to be addressed at you guys' level. That's all I'm gonna say about that vehicle and stuff like that. The day labor program, I talked to the day labor program about the things that they're doing with the weatherization, the snow removal and stuff like that. I was really kind of pleased with one of the day labor people that said that they're attempting to get day labor supervisors in each community to run these run these crews and stuff like that. They get paid pretty good for day labor, they do. They get paid good for it. If they're driving their own vehicle, they get mileage, they get everything they need to do to be successful in day labor. But there is still some challenges, and we always know there's gonna be challenges, and we just gotta get past these challenges and get this done. You know, especially with the roofs and stuff like that. So I think we're gonna get there, but it's just gonna take a little bit of time, but hopefully nothing happens in this little time that we take to get it done, but I think it's gonna get done. So that's the only comments I have.
Thank you, Sam. All right, next up, we have Tito here. She has 9 minutes to finish her.
Go ahead, Tito. Took 1 minute from you, Tito.
And the timer is on. Okay, we talked about safety issues, especially with the shoveling. Because we have a lot of elders out there now that are shoveling, and they shouldn't be. One death came as a result of that. We don't want that to happen again. Please help us with that. You talk about day labor all the time, and we refer for this to be done, and it doesn't get done. So there has to be a time factor, because now we're looking at another storm coming in, more snow. You know, we have to take care of those issues. There's once recently that called about titles. We need to get titles for the homes that are on the reservation, because if they go through a program, that's the very first thing they ask. Where's this title? Well, that holds up everything for months, for years, and they don't get the service they need. So please try to figure out something with those titles as soon as possible.
That's on the agenda in our executive session today, Tito.
Okay. Home checks, once again, the home checks, we ask this all the time. We have people out there that are by themselves. And a lot of times, even with the elder nutrition program, a meal is brought out there, but it's set. Say, for example, they're sleeping or something. It's set there. So how the hell do you know if they're alive or not? That should be that they make sure the person is up. A telephone call, not in a Natawash area, you can't get service. But even a telephone call out there to ones that can get service. I'm thinking about a couple way out, by Strawberry Lake that both have cancer. We need to reach out to these people, make sure they're okay. The housing, the roundhouse, for example. I went out there and found a guy trying to shovel in a wheelchair. It's again, not okay. These should be taken care of by housing. But you call housing in I don't know who to talk to anymore. There's no director up there, so that there's icicles hanging almost to the ground. If one of them falls on somebody, it could kill them. Those are issues that need to be taken care of. And I would think that a director should be able to do that. The blocking, snow plowing, we're very appreciative of that, the snow plowing. But when they block access to those fuel tanks, we can't have that anymore. And vents, we've had several people with their vents up there that have ice. Thick up under it. That's gonna cause a problem here. There'll be deaths with that. The water quality, situation, we talked about that so many times. What's happening with that? A lot of people in the congregate and down at the Roundhouse, around the White Earth area and other places are buying water. They can't drink that water. So it's important we get some good quality water there in our homes. You know, I with the home care service, with the medical, that's all good and well. But, you know, when the other problem with, like transportation, when someone is taken down to, Detroit Lakes, Monoman, another facility for further care, they're left there, our elders. And, you know, if they don't hospitalize them, then they're just left. So they have to try to find a way home. And you talk about having CHRs working weekends and everything. Where are they then when these people are left? These are some of the things we've brought up so many times. I really appreciate that most of the weatherization was done in a timely manner before this big storm. I'm so grateful for that, for all our elders that received the service. My only complaint with that again is have one or at least one sheet so people can see out of their homes. That big heavy plastic they use, again, you know, people just tear it off. So at least give them one that they can see out of. I know it's a little more expensive, but pitch in there or something.
Don't cut in there.
Yeah. They don't cut it out, they just rip it out, so. They need to see their birds, or they need to see people that are coming to their door. It could be a risk factor there, so. All these issues, again, we brought up so many times. And we keep hearing, yes, this will happen. The roof situations at our places now, you know, the snow is so high on them. You ruin the roofs if they're left like that. Honest to God, we can't climb anymore. So we can't get up there. I know Mike would say, go up there and do it yourself. I can't. If I could, I would.
I'll give you a boost up here,
Yeah.
go and do it together.
But thank you for the programs that you do provide. We do appreciate. But, you know, we have those concerns, and when there's grants available or monies to address the issues, then do it in a timely manner. Thank you.
Accountability.
You know what, I'd like to, I mean, and Lori. if
Oh,
I-
wait a minute, Mike.
Uh-oh.
Before COVID, when Ellen Roy was here, he promised that chart you're talking about with accountability. Boy, you know, there was one in place. What happened to that? Because programs could utilize something like that, and you would find your accountability. I can't remember the name of that program, but it was some kind of a wheel, and that was way before COVID. So, you know, all of a sudden, everything's dropped. You know, COVID comes along, it's a good excuse, right?
There you go.
To forget what was supposed to be done. So, you know, one day, you guys, you're all gonna be like us, crippled and complaining to you. But,
Sooner or later, yeah.
yeah,
No,
very
I
soon.
was gonna let Lori know that. I'd like to address the, you know, when elders go to the hospital and they don't have a ride back. I did make a promise that those navigators would be doing that, and we just have to follow up with that, because I know sometimes they are available and sometimes they're not, and that was one of the things that we talked about. And our navigator program is not a 24/7, it's not a weekend job, but they could be put on call, but then there's other things that we do. But I think that's not an excuse, but I think we should probably just be able to, shore these things up and.
On-call
Yeah.
status
Yeah.
somehow. You know, that would work.
Yes. Yep. And I can,
See, I
I'll have
can-
Lori follow up with
I
this.
can help you solve some of those things.
There you go.
That's all I'll say. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Tito, and I'd like to appreciate the Elders Commission for their update, Tito and Sam. You know, I know it's important that, you know, that we take care of you, that, you know, as elected officials and Ogiwas, that we cherish our elders. So I want to send you good for your updates, and, you know, I know that we're caught in the crossfire a lot, but, you know, we're doing everything we can. You know, we feel in our hearts that we need to take care of our elders and our knowledge carriers, so I want to send you good.
No more promises.
Right. All right, guys, we're gonna go in a little,
You guys wanna go on a break? Yeah, let's just eat.
yeah, we're gonna eat first, so we'll take a